Jeff Gore. I'm a former grad student of his, Scott Graham. And so today I'm going to talk a little bit about in the Mid-South managing for thrips and as well as plant bugs. Thrips, plant bugs are our main pest in the Mid-South. Thrips are also very important because if you don't get a good start on your crop, it can delay you, a week to 10 days, and then particularly in the Mississippi Delta, that's potentially 2 sprays right there for plant bugs. So it's really important for us to get our crop off to a good start before we get into plant bug season and kind of the bulk of that. So with that, some factors that may influence thrips damage: weather. Obviously, if you plant and it's still a little cold and your crop can't get off to a good fast start, can really hurt vigor. Herbicide injury. I know a lot of research and stuff's going on with this, making sure you're getting your pre's out and planting it in proper timing so you don't get any damage from herbicides that you don't have to have that will slow your crop down. Tillage. Your different tillage programs can definitely affect thrips populations and can help build up the populations of thrips, and can really have an effect on damage for your plants. Some nematodes can kind of slow down your cotton growth and can help increase damage from thrips, as well as your soil type or rainfall. And then starting to do some looking at varieties and things like that. And there seems to be a grass student at Mississippi State, kind of some preliminary stuff seems to be where varieties differences can definitely influence thrips. I don't know about the feeding, but different varieties have different tolerances, it appears, to thrips damage. So right now in the Mid-South, kind of what we're recommending for thrips control, we're not really on the Foxen, Cruiser, or Victa. Some resistance problems going along, so we're kind of moving away from that. We're still recommending Gaucho and imidacloprid, but you need to make sure that you might need to follow up with a foliar spray of orthene. Definitely need to be walking your fields if you're using Gaucho, and be prepared to make an application. Aris is still working really good. The imidacloprid in Aris is the same as Gaucho, but Aris also has thiodicarb in it, so there seems to be we're getting something from that thiodicarb component that's still helping us to control thrips. You also have your foliar supplements, as Mr. Droke was saying. Radiant or orthene can definitely give you some good control of thrips. And then your in-furrow sprays, orthene and Admire Pro, which is imidacloprid. And then also there's some works coming through with traits and things like that, where maybe that might be the future, where we can just have cotton plants that are tolerant to thrips damage. So now getting into plant bugs, a lot of these species, you can see in the Mid-South we spend a whole lot more money on plant bug control than the rest of the country. The U.S. average in 2014 was almost $15, and in the Mid-South it was closer to probably $35 or $40. And a lot of that is we're in the Mississippi Delta in particular, we're averaging between 5 to 7 sprays for plant bugs. Every year there are some fields that are going to have 10 to 12 sprays for plant bugs. So that's really causing the cost of control to go up. And as we all know, with the prices of cotton now, we're trying to figure out ways to where we don't have to spray these insecticides. When we look at why we're having to spray so many, this is a regional trial across the Mid-South, and 64% control was the best control that we were getting. I know for a grad student, a 64% is not good enough in the classroom, so that's not going to be good enough for our insecticides either. So as I was saying, we're really trying to figure out what's some best management strategies to help reduce our reliance on these chemical insecticides, and use some cultural controls and stuff to help combat this pest. So this is what my master's research focused on, was combining BMPs, as we call them, best management practices. A lot of independent research is going on, but no one had really combined these together to make an overall program to see the benefits of it. So a hairy leaf variety has shown to, and I have some pictures and slides to talk later, but the hairy leaf variety seems to do a really good job combating plant bugs, but depending on your area, it also is more attractive for worms. So if you're in a heavy worm area, it might not be as beneficial for you So you just have to keep that in mind. Then the earlier maturing varieties and early planting dates. No talking about with the thrips, where if you plant early and it's still a little cool, it might slow down your plant growth. So you do need to make sure that your soil temperatures and stuff are good when planting early. But it definitely has a good advantage, and then reduced nitrogen rates. A lot of research has shown that in certain soil types that can really help deter plant bugs. And blocking cotton away from corn. Corn tends to dry down right around the time cotton's becoming pretty preferable for plant bugs. So if you're able to block away from corn if possible, that can really help. And then making some diamond applications. The timing of these automatic applications kind of varies within where you are, depending on when you have high adult influx into your fields of plant bugs. And then tank mixtures, obviously, if you can get more chemistries out there, you can get hopefully better control if you're not just relying on one AI to try to control. And then short intervals and heavy pressure, we've seen some good stuff where maybe if you're in a real high area, pressure area, you get the first application out and you get so-so control, then you come in 4 days later and make another application, and it really shoots up to really good control. So that's something to keep in mind too if you're in a high pressure situation. So Wilkes Wood did his master's research at Mississippi State, and part of what he was looking at was this variety pubescens. This is an untreated field, and you can see the difference in the amount of lint in that field between the hairy and the smooth variety. Part of that, interestingly enough, although there's more lint in this picture in the hairy variety, there were more plant bugs in the hairy variety as well. Part of that probably because, as you can see, there was nothing for the plant bugs to feed on in the smooth variety, so they were probably just moving over there because there's something there to feed on. And then we don't know if there's some kind of the hairs cause a mechanical barrier to where they can't feed as well. Not exactly sure why they seem to do so much more damage on the smooth variety than the hairy. Excuse me, than the hairy, but they do appear to. Next, looking at nitrogen rate, I was talking about earlier. Chase Samples, doing this master's research at State under Dr. Darren Dodds, was looking at the effect of nitrogen rate on plant bugs, and Chase found that at 80 pounds of nitrogen, he was able to increase yields as well as reduce the amount of insecticide applications needed for tarnished plant bugs. We know they like rank, luscious cotton, so if you're able to cut down on your nitrogen, you can still get satisfactory yields and reduce sprays by 1 or 1.5. Application of diamond. As I said earlier, it kind of depends on your region and when the plant bugs come into your fields. In Mississippi, they found that third week of squaring is the best time to get this product out. It's an insect growth regulator, so we put it out when we get a large influx of adults, and then we get good residual, good control of the nymphs, and it can really save us a spray or a couple sprays at the end, and we're able to increase yields there pretty significantly.
Is this pre-bloom?
Yes, sir. Right.
So your diamond is going in that early window where citric typically went? Is that right?
Right. We're putting out, like I said, it depends on your region, but in Mississippi, the third week is square, and we're getting it out. It's really more there to control the nymphs than it is adults.
I've got one consultant that watches the nymphs, and when he's seeing a lot of nymphs, then he throws diamond in them. But if we're seeing mainly adults, no. But when we're picking up lots of nymphs, he says, I'm picking up lots of nymphs, so I want you to add 6 ounces of diamond.
So where we're at in Tennessee, my preferred window is more like the first week after bloom, because that tends to be our adult influx. But you can watch, and when I think the best time is when you maybe start seeing them first little tiny nymphs. And we know in our geography, we start seeing them, we're usually going this way, so we're in front of that. Yeah, I think that timing just needs to be tweaked based on your area and what your scouts tell you.
The first instars are super sensitive to diamond, and because of the residual of the IGRs, for us, that third week of squaring, we're getting egg late when that adult population, and so we have very sensitive first instars hatching into it, and it just kind of breaks that cycle. So it just fits us about that time. But you call it an automatic, it's really not. It's like you said, trying to time that adult peak.
And then also looking at the impact of planting date and varietal maturity. Brian Adams, master's of research at Mississippi State, and essentially you can see here Brian found the earlier planted cotton, and the cotton that has a little earlier maturing took less percent yield loss to plant bugs than a later planted or a later maturing variety. So essentially, the earlier, the quicker you can get your crop in and out of the field, the less time that there is for plant bugs to do damage. So these were the treatments of my master's research for our, what we call our IPM approach. Was a hairy variety that was also an earlier maturing variety. Put 80 pounds of nitrogen and made our diamond application at the third week of squaring, when we were starting to see the high influx of adults and the first install nymphs and stuff. And we also had a early May planting date. And then for our other treatment, we planted a smooth variety, Delta Pine 1050, which is also a longer season maturing variety. We put 120 pounds of nitrogen. We did not make the application of diamond. We decided that we were just going to see, what would happen to us if we didn't make it. And we planted a little later, just to see the effects of that as well. So I think I have time to kind of talk about this a little bit. So this is the square retention through the 3 weeks of squaring. We had to sample twice a week. This is in Stoneville in the Delta. Like I said, it's a really high pressure area. The first sample date, both treatments looked pretty good, and then we moved into the second, and we had significant drop. 26% square retention is not very good, so we had to make a spray there. We get it up to about 61, still not quite as high as our BMP was. And I remember these are about a month and a half different timings. It's just the same sample date, or not dates, same sample week, right? Okay. So as you can see, we're able to keep square retention much higher. 80% square retention is kind of our threshold, so we were able to stay above square retention for most of the growing season. In our IPM and in our other treatment, we were not able to. Then we had 2 field sites, kind of follows the same trend in our other field as well. So just to kind of get a look throughout the entire squaring season, with our IPM, when we used our BMPs, we did. In the one field, we fell below threshold twice, had to make sprays. But other than that, we were able to keep it above threshold on average for the entire season during the squaring season. And then our other approach, we couldn't get it making 5 sprays and 4 sprays. We never could on average get it above threshold. And so when you look at the yield, you kind of see exactly what you'd expect to see. We pretty significant increase of yield for our lint, for our BMPs, a 460 pound increase and a 398 pound increase from using this system. Like I said, this is really, we get a lot of this benefit in our high pressure areas. And then when you, right now it's not sliding over. So when you look at our net returns in the Delta, we did end up, it cost us a little bit more to spray. We were using tank mixes and things like that, but we were able to increase profits by $336 per acre and almost $270 per acre there in our 2 fields. So roughly $300 is what, on average, what our system brought for our net returns. And so then when you compare, so we planted each treatment, we took planting date out of it just to look at, maybe planting date had a significant impact on our yields. Well, they didn't. As you can see, we had anywhere from 117 to a 464 increase in lint with using our IPM approach. So we really feel pretty good about that and the benefits that we're getting from it. So just kind of wrapping this up, our IPM program for our plant bugs, we were able to have significantly higher square retention, about 15% over the course of the season. We reduced the amount of insecticide applications needed for the plant bugs by 2. It did increase the cost of our applications by about $9 per acre, but it increased our net returns per acre by nearly $300 on average. So we really feel pretty good about it and what we're seeing. Then we got about 5 minutes for questions.
How many shots of diamond did you use on IPM?
Just one. Just that one.
And what was your normal spray rate? 1 gallon per acre. 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 for plant bug?
You would like what chemical?
Yes.
Or, well, so kind of during squaring, I think we were using some MyPros and Neonics, and later in the season we moved to Centric and Transform, which obviously now Transform. I don't think we can use it right now. But those were in Orthene. Those were our go-to towards the end of the season.
Has there been any research on, where you've done more than one application of Diamond two, that, you know?
We generally recommend more than one. It's that first one, we try to
Yeah.
work it in it makes every other chemical that follows it look good. But we try to work it in, at least one more time during the season, but a lot of people have to add an adulticide, depending on the budget, later in the season, tend to start shying away from it because of the.
But when the product first came out years ago, we did a lot of back-to-back applications. And Diamond's a product that if you just look at it by itself and you don't look at it long-term, you'll never be impressed with it. And like I said, if you start following out longer-term, you'll start to see where it benefits you a little bit more. But if you make 2 back-to-back applications on 5-6 days, it's very, very good. After that second rating, it's very competitive with our best standards. If you have a bunch of adults in there, you may have to put an adulticide in there. It's a little pricier than some of our options, but a back-to-back application of Diamond's not bad. It's a pretty good treatment. You do 6 ounces twice on a 5-day schedule. Like I said, that first 5-day rating, it's not going to look as good as a Transform or an Orthene, but by the time you get out to that second rating, it's pretty good. And the other advantage, and you didn't mention it, but we all know it's a different mode of action. And where you got the most resistance is where it's going to look better for you. If you got bugs that are easy to kill, which you might see in the hills of Mississippi or parts of Tennessee or something like that, you're probably not going to see as much benefit from it.
All right. Well, thank you all very much. This is supposed to go 2:15, right?